But HilaryKennedy.com, that's with one L.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for the plug.
Sure.
So you have been looking into the Cuties controversy a little bit on Netflix, right?
Yes. So the last time that I was on your show, actually, some of your viewers and listeners sent me information about this film because they had seen the artwork. So the film hadn't been brought to America yet. It's a French film. But they had seen some of the artwork, and they said this artwork is disturbing because the film is about a group of 11-year-olds, and one of them grows up in a strict religious household, and she's kind of looking for a way to break free. She feels oppressed, and people don't understand her, and so she meets these other little girls who are in a dance group and starts kind of trying to explore growing up with these other little girls. So the poster that Netflix put out was very different from the French poster, and it shows these. There it is. They're very hypersexualized.
Oh, jeez.
So people were outraged about the poster to begin with. Netflix actually apologized about the poster, saying this was a bad judgment call. We shouldn't have made this poster like this. So they did apologize for that. But then they said, this isn't representative of the film. Yes, it is.
Oh.
So I watched as much of the film as I could stomach. This film is disgusting. It is it's exploitive. I mean, it's softcore child pornography, in my opinion. I canceled my Netflix subscription, as did thousands and thousands of people.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Netflix lost $9 billion in one day because so many people either saw clips from it because they were so disgusted.
Wow.
And that was their stock price?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it just plummeted immediately. There's, I believe, close to 700,000 signatures on a petition to try and get the film pulled from Netflix. But also, everyone wants the Department of Justice to look into this because what they show in this film really fits the legal description of exploitation of a minor. So I think, too, something that's been interesting, a lot of the mainstream media sources will say, oh, it's right-wing conservatives who are trying to get this film pulled from Netflix. That's not true. It is people from both parties, no parties, everybody, it seems, is in agreement about the fact that this film is...
Well, you would think Democrats can get on board with not sexually exploiting 11-year-old girls. I mean, I hope they get on board with that.
Tulsi Gabbard came out and said she thinks it's absolutely horrible and that they're complicit in distributing child pornography. Tom Cotton, Ted Cruz, I mean, there's been a lot of politicians that have stepped up and said, this can't go on in our country. Netflix needs to be held accountable. But to be fair, I did find a positive review of the film, and I think we have a clip of that.
Okay.
Right off the bat, just first impressions regarding the controversy. This film does try to make you sexually aroused by 11-year-olds. And I'll say it's not bad at it. It's not a total failure in that regard, at least for me.
Okay.
How disturbing is that? Because there are scenes in the film where one of the little girls takes a photograph of her private parts to upload online. There's a scene where you see the actual breast of one of the young girls.
Now, they said that is not true. Netflix claims that's not true. That there's no actual nudity of the girls.
Netflix is lying.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there are scenes. I mean, there's one scene where a girl's in her underwear and it's a close-up and you can see everything. And there's a review talking about why, by someone who went and watched it with an open mind. And I would like for you to listen to his review as well, because it really sums up how I felt about it.
Okay.
So what is the big issue, you might ask? Well, it's the fact that they showed it all on camera. The objectification was the film. These girls were on screen twerking, humping the ground, grabbing each other's behinds, and they didn't just show this stuff. They zoomed in. There's almost 2 minutes worth of close-up shots of these girls' crotches and backsides, and none of these scenes play into the story. Not even one. You can't even see their face in most of them. The final straw for me was when our 11-year-old protagonist gets her pants pulled down by the bullies, and we just fully see her in her underwear. Like, that's the entire shot, just her body. I actually jumped out of my chair when that happened, not just because it was so uncomfortable, but because it was so random and didn't fit what was happening whatsoever. But yeah, that, ladies and gentlemen, is Cuties.
Wow.
It's nauseating.
Yeah, and these are people. These are girls.
Then they actually were all, I believe, when they filmed, 13 and under. They said they had a child psychologist on set to help them work through some of the issues, the things they were being told to do.
Unreal.
But
That's
I mean,
crazy.
What a slap in the face. You're the one forcing these girls to do these things. So the fact that there were adults making the movie, there were adult parents consenting to their children performing these adult acts. It's disturbing on every level. It's disgusting.
Were the parents?
I would love to hear from these parents.
These are crimes.
But also, when they were auditioning girls for the film, they had everyone film auditions at home initially. And the more sexual moves that these girls did, those were the ones that made callbacks and were brought in for the in-person auditions, which is also disturbing. I mean, why they couldn't have cast, if they wanted to make this film, why they couldn't have cast someone of age who looked very young. The reviewer that you just watched, he made a good point about the movie Precious. It was about a 16-year-old girl, but Gabourey, that played the lead character, she was, I believe, 26 at the time. So why they couldn't have hired adults that looked very young, or maybe made a documentary interviewing kids about their experiences, or turned this into a book. I mean, there's a million other ways they could have gone with this instead of having these young children reenact these disgusting things.
Is there anything to the Netflix excuse that this is actually an young girl twerking movie? They're just trying to show you that it's bad, that they were trying to make some sort of social statement on that?
I think they could have gotten away with that if there weren't so many gratuitous shots in this film that were, like the reviewer said, completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Completely unnecessary.
But the tone is that this shouldn't be happening, but they show it.
They're trying to show that this girl kind of gives into peer pressure and feels like the way to get ahead in life and get out of her rough situation is to be more sexual and get more likes and attention online and by people in real life. And at the end, she decides, no, I want to leave all that behind and lead my life as a normal little girl. So the message could have been really good, but the problem is the way that they are saying they're fighting exploitation is by actually exploiting these children.
And why don't you think they've given in to pressure yet and pulled it off?
I think Netflix may eventually pull the film, but right now it's in the top 5 because of all the publicity. So in the meantime, why not get the most bang for your buck while you can? And then, but they have pulled other films. This is the thing. Netflix has pulled other films in the past. There was some outcry earlier this year about a film that they have that portrayed blackface. And so they pulled that immediately. But with this has been going on for weeks and they still haven't pulled it.
Yeah, you've made the point. Gone with the Wind. Gone.
All of these films that people had a problem with on these streaming platforms.
Gosh.
When it came to social justice, they were pulled immediately. So it's not like Netflix doesn't have a history of pulling films. They've pulled films that China has said, no, we don't want this on our streaming platform here. So when China has complained, or Germany has complained, or New Zealand has complained, they have pulled films that those countries didn't want there. Well, Americans clearly don't want Cuties streaming on Netflix.
Right.
And yet there it is. It's still on the platform.
Wow. Really something else. Also, on another topic, your favorite athlete, Conor McGregor, running into a little bit of trouble again?
Yes.
Oh no.
Did he actually sexually assault a woman?
So they've released him without any charges. So he wasn't charged with anything. Wow. They said pending evidence, he could be recharged, but they have released him. Apparently, a young woman said that he exposed himself to her. She's a young married woman.
I love how what is that? That's a quote from the story. Like that's what the police are saying.
Yeah.
A young married woman.
So
Corsica, right?
In Corsica. Yeah, he was over there with his fiance and children. But he's actually taken this pretty hard for Conor McGregor. Wow. He usually doesn't show a lot of emotion. But he did put out a tweet that has since been deleted saying, I can't go on like this. I mean, it was a very serious series of tweets where he almost sounded like he was, I don't want to say suicidal, but in a very bad, dark place. But those have since been deleted.
Does he deny doing it? He does, right?
Yes.
It was at like a bar or something.
Right.
And she was on her way to the restroom.
Yes.
And he was at a table back near there. And that's where...
Was he with his wife?
No, I believe he was with like his management team and some friends. But I've always been really big on you've got to give people the benefit of the doubt, innocent until proven guilty. And I still feel that way. But man, I tell you where it's bitten me in the behind a couple times. Bill Cosby, Jared from Subway.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
R. Kelly. I mean, I've always been like, wait a minute, we've got to wait for the whole story to come out. And those have it's always bitten me in the behind. So as much as I want to root for Connor,
you were the
I
one.
won't defend him vigorously as I have.
You're the one that believed R.
Bill
Kelly.
Cosby in the past. So you want to believe the best.
Oh, man.
Jared from Subway was a tough one.
Wow.
That's a sad one.
Man.
Yeah.
And I think he's still in prison, right?
I think so.
I believe so, yeah.
For some time to come, I think.
Yeah, he's probably.
So, is Connor coming back to the UFC or not?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, he's retired so many times now that I think if he can get past this, I think he's got one or two really good fights left in him. I think he's just got too much ego, I think, to let it die. I think he's got to go out like one more time in like a big flashy way. But
He's only 31, isn't he? 30, 31, 32? How old is he?
that's pretty old for
Yeah.
in the fighting
No, how
world.
old is he? I bet you know his birthday, date of birth, time he was born.
I
Tell
want
us.
to say he's 33.
See, she wants to say. She knows.
But I do wish he would come back and fight again. He's my favorite fighter, but again, I hope this news isn't true, but you never know.
Yeah.
I hope it's not true, too, because I'm tired of people doing the whole sexual assault thing. And it would be nice if there's some famous person who actually didn't do what he's accused of.
Right. Well, his management team
It could
said,
be great.
hey, people are always looking for a quick payday, and that's what we believe this is. So.
And his management team must have, I mean, if he's sitting at the table with them and somebody walks by, wouldn't they have seen the exposure as well?
That's what's been weird about this story is there have been very few details. I mean, you haven't heard anybody really saying much about it. So,
I wish they would come out and stand up
Right.
for him if it's not true.
well, I think that's why he wasn't formally charged because I just don't think there's enough evidence to.
Yeah.
to say.
All right. Hillary, thanks a lot. We'll be watching for you on the 4-Minute Buzz coming up in just a few minutes now.
Yeah. Too bad it's not 4
11
minutes from
minutes.
now because that would have been convenient.
It would have been
But
convenient.
unfortunately, we're at 10 minutes out. So you need to go get ready.
Thank you for having me on.
All right. Thanks.